Yo everyone, I think I speak for everyone when I say that I don't think I'd see Imavov KO Adesanya in the second round. I did pick Imavov to win, but wow guys, insane performance overall. I will be recapping the entire card and matchmaking every fighter on the card. If you want to skip to any fight in particular to hear my thoughts, timestamps are in the description and the comment section below. Please leave a like and subscribe to support the channel if you enjoy the vid as well, guys. It is 7 AM right now, actually 7:30 where I am right now, and I've stayed up all night to watch this card and make the video. So let's jump into the first fight of the card. Hamdy Abdelwahab gets the win over Jamal Pogues, if you can even call it that. Guys, after watching the last card, which was UFC 311, I thought, wow, these judges, they're amazing. The entire night, this has probably been the best night of judging I've ever seen in the UFC. I hope this keeps up every card, setting the standard once again. And guys, what the fuck was this? I'm not going to say that the rounds weren't relatively close, because they were. I rewatched the fight to be sure as well. But there was a clear winner here in this fight, and it was Jamal Pogues. I thought he arguably won every round, 30-27, because after getting taken down early in the first round, he had a great second half to that round, and he racked up a lot of solid strikes, so he could have stole that round. That was the only round I could really see them edging to Hamdy, and then rounds 2 and 3 were more clearly Jamal Pogues. It was still close, like I said, but sometimes there is a clear winner, and it was a sad decision. Honestly, I yelled out when it happened. I picked Hamdy to win this fight as well, so I'm not being biased here or anything. Jeez, anyways, I am going to match up both of these fighters. For Hamdy, I would give him a Justin Tafa, very winnable matchup for him. And for Jamal Pogues, I do feel really bad for him. He won this fight. I still think I would give him someone relatively high profile, but just not high ranking, because technically he lost. And I'd give him Muhammad Usman. I think if he gets a solid win over Usman, it might do good things for his career. Yeah, moving on. Bogdan Grad gets a TKO win over Lucas Alexander. You know, listen guys, Bogdan Grad is a tough guy, don't get me wrong, he looked good, so don't think I'm shitting on every fighter or every fight now. Hopefully you guys don't see it that way, but Bogdan looked extremely off balance, and there was moments where it looked like Lucas Alexander was going to find the finish here, but Lucas won the first round pretty confidently in my opinion. But once Bogdan managed to secure half mount in the second, he was able to transition very well and stop the scrambles of Lucas Alexander, and then just piled on the damage in the ground and pound to get the TKO win. Both guys definitely have got things to work on after this fight. For Bogdan, he's just got to get better patience. He's got to have better balance, stricter striking technique. I would love to see that for him. He'd be a great contender in the division if he was able to improve in that way. As for who I would match up Bogdan, I would give him someone like Sting Soo Choi, someone up the rankings from him, and a very winnable fight for Bogdan. Hard to match him up though, just against super well-known opponents, just because he is low down in the rankings currently, but that's the matchup I would make. As for Lucas Alexander, I'd give him another person who just lost on this card in Kaan Ofli. Spoiler alert for that matchup, solid fight to make, and that's pretty much it. Moving on to Jasmine Jasudavicius getting a dominant decision win over Mayra Bueno. Great performance from Jasmine Jasudavicius. Didn't think the judges could go wrong here, but a part of me was actually nervous. Jokes aside, great stuff. Just dominated her everywhere, from the stand-up, being able to out-volume her, out-damage Mayra Bueno, taking her down, controlling her during the scrambles. Very impressive performance, very impressive win. I would like to see Jasmine fight someone like Caitlin Serminaria, since it'll be a fight with someone above her in the rankings. And as for Mayra Bueno, if she wants to stay at flyweight, give her one last chance at the rankings in Ariane De Silva. Good matchup there for sure. Moving on to the next fight of the card, which was Terrance McKinney KOing Damir Hadzovic in the first round. And this went exactly how I thought it would, honestly. Quick fight. He hurt Damir early, and then he went to the ground. He just got into a dominant position. He got the ground and pound. I also had a bet on McKinney to get the win by KO in the first round, so I'm super happy with this performance. I'm happy with that win. I was getting more nervous when it looked like he was going to go for the submission as well, and I was like, no, I need a KO here. But great stuff. That aside, great performance. He really is too dangerous early. You need to be someone who can threaten McKinney with a KO early, or else he will just steamroll you over at this point. Keen to see his next matchup. As for who I would match him up against, I would give Terrance a solid test in Thiago Moises. I would really like to see how Thiago Moises handles someone like a Terrance McKinney. I think that would be a great matchup. And as for Damir Hadzovic, He's the only person on this card that I would suggest to move to another promotion like PFL, solely due to the fact that he isn't doing super well in the UFC right now. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, man. PFL is better for him, in my opinion. So moving on to Shamiel Gaziev, knocking out Thomas Peterson in the first round. Great performance from the GOAT. Shamiel Gaziev here was able to completely shut out Thomas Peterson in this fight. He could not touch him, and he just kept countering him as he closed the distance until he put him out of this fight early. Short fight, easy win, and as for what's next for Shamiel Gaziev, he's ranked. I would give him someone up the rankings as well. Maybe a Marcin Tybura would be good. I'd like to see how he deals with the grappling, honestly, in that matchup. Interesting matchup there. And as for Thomas Peterson, chuck him someone like a Chris Barnett. When he comes back from his surgery or injury recovery, could be a fun matchup, interesting matchup. Moving on to the next fight. Muhammad Naimov defeating Kaan Ofli by decision, and this was not the funnest watch, I'm not going to lie to you. There was a lot of clinching, a lot of hugging, with some moments on the feet, but Muhammad Naimov clearly won this fight. He's definitely a talent in the division, and there are a lot of good fights to make for him. I would give Muhammad Naimov someone fun and interesting like a Cub Swanson. Especially if Cub's not going to retire and he wants to fight some solid guys. I think this would be an interesting fight for sure, and both guys are very well-rounded, so it'd be interesting. So, as for Kaan Ofli, you guys already know who I'm matching him up against, and that's Lucas Alexander. So that's the fight I would make. Moving on to the main card fights. Fares Ziam defeats Mike Davis in a grueling back-and-forth war. Intense way to start off the main card here. I did not expect Mike Davis to pull guard so many times, and I also didn't expect Fares Ziam to use his grappling as much as he did. Fares Ziam had a lot of success on the feet and on the ground in this fight. It was a very impressive performance from Fares Ziam. Honestly, I think he might be a hard matchup for a lot of guys in the division, even in the rankings. He's big, he hits hard, he's got crisp striking, and he isn't a complete nothing nobody on the ground and in scrambles. He knows how to offensively wrestle if he needs to. He's very impressive. If I was to put Fares up against someone, it would probably be BSD for sure, just because I think he could take his ranking spot. It's a very winnable fight, it's an exciting fight for sure, and it's a ranked opponent. So, perfect fight to make next. As for Mike Davis, he fought very well, fought hard, but I would probably give him someone like a Drakkar Klose, who is of around a similar rank to him, I believe. He needs to be more active and fight a few more winnable fights for him before fighting people like Fares Ziam, who are tough matchups. So that's the fight I would make. Moving on to Vinicius Oliveira, outworking Said Nurmagomedov to win a close-fought decision win. All I can say about this fight is high pace and high level. Both guys are insanely technical and gifted athletes, and I believe both guys could be ranked right now easily. The pace they started with was so high, it wasn't a shock to me that they both started to look extremely fatigued by the end of the second round. There is no way anyone keeps up the pace that these guys had for more than 2-3 rounds. Oliveira was battling a rib injury, but he was just non-stop putting on the pace on Said Nurmagomedov. I think he just knew that he was more tired than him. Very, very impressive. Very impressed with both fighters after watching this fight. If Said Nurmagomedov had insane cardio, he might literally be an unstoppable force in the future. But congratulations to the winner, Vinicius Oliveira. And I like the Umar Nurmagomedov call out, but I do think it's too slightly early right now. If I were to match him up against someone next, I honestly believe he deserves a solid shot at the rankings, and Chito Vera is someone that needs to prove he's still ready for the rankings due to all his recent losses. So that's who I'd match Oliveira up against. And as for Said Nurmagomedov, both fighters gave an exciting fight, so I do want to give Said a good opponent. And I think Said Nurmagomedov could fight Kyler Phillips since he is just inside the bottom of the rankings. I think he deserves a ranked opponent. That's the fight I'd make. Moving on to Sergei Pavlovich getting a very surprising decision win over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that I didn't think this fight was going to go the distance. I thought Pavlovich was going to get him out of there, but credit to both guys. Jairzinho took a lot of harder shots without getting rocked, and Sergei used his grappling a bit more in this fight and was more patient on the feet in this fight. It was actually really good to see him not rush in and make it risky against a top-level fighter in Jairzinho. Shows high fight IQ, but does make for a less exciting fight, of course. As for Sergei Pavlovich, I think he should fight someone like a Cyril Gane next. We all know Cyril Gane didn't beat Alexander Volkov, so I think it would be a good idea for Cyril to fight someone like Pavlovich before fighting for the belt. Don't know if they'll end up doing that, but I would like to see it. And as for Rozenstruik, I think they should give him someone lower in the rankings like a Mick Parkin. He's ranked 14th, 15th in the division. He's doing well for himself. And since Rozenstruik's lost here, I think this should be a good step up in competition and a good challenge for Mick Parkin. That's it for this fight. Moving on to the co-main event of the card. MVP completely shutting down Nurmagomedov on the feet and winning a unanimous decision. I've been saying it for a while now that Nurmagomedov is overrated in many ways, and I have been saying it as well that I've been picking MVP to win every fight he fights in because I truly believe that he is extremely hard to deal with on the feet. It's a very impressive performance, hard to match him up against anyone because of his age and because this was at middleweight and not welterweight, but he did want to go back to welterweight, he said, and I think an exciting fight to make for him would be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Fantastic stand-up matchup. I would love to see that, and it's someone up the rankings for MVP, and I think I would pick him to win that again, honestly. And as for Nurmagomedov, I would give him someone like a Michel Pereira or maybe a Jack Hermanson. He needs to prove he can handle the rankings here, and I think the Michel Pereira matchup would be exciting and a test to see if he can hang with a ranked fighter. Now moving on to the main event of the card, Nassourdine Imavov gets the biggest win of his career and the biggest finish of his career by finishing Israel Adesanya in the second round by KO. Holy shit, guys. I did not expect this in the slightest, especially after the first round Adesanya had against Imavov. He was looking very sharp. He was very on point. He did take a big uppercut from Imavov in the first round, but he controlled the first round well and he didn't show it. Imavov dealt with the adversity early, finished Adesanya early in the second round with a massive right hand and ground and pound follow-up. Just insane, guys. Not much more to say. I'm very proud of myself for picking the double underdog in the main and co-main event for this card. Both were right. This card was solid overall. And as for who I would match them up against, give Imavov his title shot. Whether it's after Khamzat or whatever, give him the winner of Strickland or DDP or Khamzat if he becomes the champion. He deserves the shot. As for Adesanya, man, it's a rough go, honestly, but there is really nothing left for Adesanya in the middleweight division. I've really been wanting to see him fight someone at light heavyweight, and that person that I want to see him fight is Yuri Prochazka. I think that would be an insane fight for Adesanya's legacy if he wants to keep fighting, and I think a win over Yuri would be insane and set him up for a title shot with Alex if he wants to go for that. That's the fight to make in my opinion. And that wraps up our recap and matchmaking for UFC Fight Night Adesanya vs Imavov. What do you guys think about the card and the matchmaking suggestions I gave? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button and hit subscribe for more MMA content. Like I said, it's very early in the morning, guys. I'm very tired. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.